Hello and a very warm welcome to this World Ballet Day, which starts in a couple of minutes. If you're wanting the audio description, you're on the right channel. My name's Alice and I'll be here throughout just letting you know who's talking and how it all looks. So in this couple of minutes just before we start, I will describe the main people you're going to hear from and whereabouts we are. So we're coming to you live from the stage of the Linbury Theatre at Covent Garden in London, and it's lit in a kind of bluish light. And the first person that you'll hear from is today's presenter, David Pickering, who works at the Royal Ballet, heading up their learning and participation programmes. David describes himself as a tall man in his 50s with fair hair, with flecks of grey around the ears, cut, short and choppy at the moment, he says. He's wearing a white stripy t-shirt under a navy blue shirt hanging loose over navy trousers and navy deck shoes with white soles. He's got some dark framed glasses which he often puts on top of his head, and he has some white cards that he reads from. He will also introduce Kevin O'Hare, director of the Royal Ballet, who's wearing a black polo neck, a black jacket with a red poppy tie pin and dark trousers, and he's got salt and pepper hair and beard and wears dark-framed glasses. And as the main focus of today is accessibility, we are hearing about the work of Devon Heeley, a blind artist and Associate Professor of Disability Studies at the University of Toronto. And Devon has collaborated with 4 choreographers to create original solos set to music by Max Richter, which will be interwoven with Devon's Immersive Descriptive audio IDA. So I'm not going to talk during those bits, you'll just be hearing her voice. Devon describes herself as having deep brown hair swept up into a high messy bun that sits atop my head, which is my signature do. My ever-present wide smile gives my white skin a rosy warm glow. My eyes are bright blue and expressive, with my eyebrows constantly moving up trying to kiss my hairline. I speak with my upper body rolling, arms cresting a wave as I speak. Devon is wearing a soft burgundy short-sleeve top with collar and several buttons and brown slim trousers. And then I shall describe the rest of the choreographers as we meet them and the other people during the video transmissions when they get shown as well. So I'll get out of the way now as we're about to start. I really hope you enjoy the event.
Hello and welcome to the Linbury Theatre here at the Royal Opera House in London. Now, after a brief hiatus last year, World Ballet Day is back with something very special.
This is David Pickering.
The Royal Ballet moves beyond behind the scenes to turn our focus to access and inclusion. And this year's theme aims to shine a light on radical accessibility, inviting both artists and audiences to experience ballet in bold and transformative new ways. Choreographer and artistic director of Fall for Dance North Festival, Rob Binet, created the project in collaboration with Devon Heeley, a blind artist and assistant professor of disability studies at the University of Toronto. Both will join me on this Linbury stage very shortly. Before we get into it though, please be aware that we are offering 3 different streams today. All have the same content, but each with very different accessibility options. So make sure to check the description box below to find links to our BSL, audio described, and
that's this one.
Caption.
So if you're listening to this, you are getting the audio description.
Director of the Royal Ballet, Kevin O'Hare, joins me on stage to tell us all about World Ballet Day. Access becomes art.
Here's Kevin in his black polo neck.
Yeah. Great to see you here.
Yeah, very excited to be here.
So, Kevin, how did this collaboration with Rob come about?
Well, as you said, we're over 10 years of doing World Ballet Day, which was a great moment bringing ballet companies across the world together, and really wanted to find a new way of celebrating what we all do. And actually in this very theatre, Rob created a wonderful piece that was very different for the audience. We took all the seats out, and so you saw ballet in a different way with some of the things that we're seeing today. So I thought Rob was the right person to ask, how can we develop World Ballet Day?
Amazing. So we're going to speak to Rob a little bit later, but how important is it for you as a director to evolve projects like World Ballet Day in this way?
Well, I think it's really important to shine a light on all the different work that not only the Royal Ballet are doing, but all the national companies and in England and across the world. And everybody is finding new ways to engage different audiences and finding ways for them to enjoy the work that we do in a very special and meaningful way that continues not just on one day, but across the year.
Amazing. So can you tell our audiences around the world what we're all about to experience?
Yes, I will do. I've got my notes just in case I go wrong, but really the piece is in collaboration with Devon Heeley, who we've just talked about, 4 choreographers who have created dances that are woven together with an immersive descriptive audio written and performed by Devon Heeley herself. We are also thrilled that we have a composition by Max Richter, that wonderful composer that has done so much for dance and putting wonderful collaborations together here at the Royal Ballet, and this will really blend the 4 voices of the choreographers. Immersive descriptive audio is really not telling us what we're seeing, it's really allowing blindness to pull us into the unseen experience of movement. And I think that's really important, and that's the beauty of it, actually, for everybody that's witnessing the performances. So, we're in 4 sections, the piece, and the first dance is choreographed by Bill Malcomson and performed by Tristan-Ian Massa and blind artist Takashi Kikuchi. And then the second section is created by company dancer Rebecca Myles Stewart and performed by first artist Madison Bailey. The third is created by Tyler Peck, who's come especially over from New York to do this, and that's performed by our wonderful principal dancer, Marcelino Sambe. And the final section is created by our fantastic resident choreographer, Wayne McGregor, and it's performed by 2 dancers from the company, Mariana Zembenhoy and Emil Gooding.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kevin. So, a world premiere for World Ballet Day, music by Max Richter. It's time for Overturning Images.
The dancers in this piece all wear flesh-coloured leotards.
He stands. A bead of sweat. Feel the touch. The sun on skin. Apollo's fingers press hand on chest. The breath of sunshine moves as rays draw attention west. The heat of contact. Touch as an act of listening. Touch as an invitation to move. Feel the touch before you go. Yes. Reach. The heel of his hand sweeps his shadow and sets on the arched spine of the sun. He pushes down, thighs brace and draw. Together they pivot and rise, pointed elbows crest, unfurling his wingspan, the bravery of an open heart. The sharing of weight, balance suspended. One torso folds to lengthen the reach of his cool fingers to slide into the warm breath of the sun's hands on his shoulders. Hesitation wanes. Feeling attentive muscles acknowledge and listen. A moment of orientation. 2 wrists drop and cross. They rise before him, arms like sunbeams open. Alone. Onto toe tips that rotate, arms crest and cascade. The arc of her open bent leg orbits around her. Toes prick, chest, arms out. An observation of self, bowing into the past. Ribs lift, lungs expand with salt-speckled air. Heels rise, toes bridge and press. Inner thighs, glutes, knees engage, calves. Elevation. Feel the mundane in the look of the impossible. stepping onto toes that prick. The most fragile parts of you hold so much power. Feet root, soaring into the air. She folds. A harmonic silence, a sense of pride grows, inviting a new light. Confidence leads through a full heart. Gently, he brings his hands together as fingers lace, pushing up to the sky. Memories of those who have come before flow through his movement. Alone, he winds, skips, suspends, flows. Heat radiates from the floor, launching flight, an adventure into the air, suspended, effortless, safe. Twist, risk, danger. A sense of comfort wraps and guides a buoyant relaxation. Sweeping into burnt orange, the throat gives way to the sensual embodiment of laughter. A surge of energy, the blood pumps viscerally, releasing the heat, giving thanks to the days gone by. Perfection overwhelmed by the feel that there is more to be discovered in movement. An unending journey searching for our humanity. Fingertips gather, curl, and hold. Pulsating. A flutter of dynamic pressure. Eyes wide. Undercurve arms. Overcurve hands slice the air, stripping away. Air disperses. Desert eyes sustain and hold a cool stare. Overturning prickling. Images. Pulling. Eyelid pressure. Compress. Squeeze. A direct, turbulent flutter. Cool. Dry over lashes. Breaking through the spiritual plane. An invisible line sketched. She yearns to embrace. Images transferred. Sketched and resketched. The persuasion of an ancestral dream. Resketched. Slipping. Roots weave. Pushing, catching. Oxygen and light beaming from her chest. The expanse of time thrust open her body, an inverted web of sensation, nourishing trust within his inhale of her exhalations, guiding his path. Don't rush. Don't forget to remember. He roots. Their internal currents splash into an infinite flow. Living a small mercy for the soul.
So beautiful, wow. That was Overturning Images. A huge thank you to all of our dancers, to Tristan-Ian Massa, to Takashi Kikuchi, Madison Bailey, Marcelina Sambe, Ariana Simonhoy, and Emile Gooding. Now, this is a project that has been a long time in the making for Rob Binet, but it is not just the Royal Ballet taking part today. World Ballet Day wouldn't be what it is without dance companies all over the globe embracing this theme. From Vienna State Ballet to Bangkok City Ballet. We're all exploring accessibility and co-creating work with disabled artists and perspectives at the centre, ensuring broader, deeper access to the beauty and power of ballet. So make sure to visit the World Ballet Day website, where you can experience many other company offerings this year and get involved in the conversation by using the hashtag World Ballet Day. Now, I think it's time we meet some of the key creators of our World Ballet Day piece. So I'm joined by Rob Binet and Devon Heeley, along with two of our choreographers, Tyler Peck and Rebecca Myles Stewart. Thank you so much for being here with us today. So, Rob, before we get into it, can you tell us how this new concept for World Ballet Day came to be?
Absolutely.
Here's Rob Binet. He's tall with curly hair.
Process of spending time with Kevin, and I think we spoke to over 25 people across the Royal Ballet about what this project has been and what it can become, because, you know, it's always been about backstage access, but nowadays with social media, we all offer our own backstage access. Dancers are offering that every day. And so to think more deeply about accessibility and how we truly invite people into this art form, especially thinking about new audiences and how they might want to experience dance in new ways, I've always found that Devon's immersive descriptive audio, it positions blindness as this force that sort of invites us in to the dancing body and into the imagination of the choreographer, and that is such an extraordinary thing that we were really excited to share.
Thank you, Rob. And Devon, this year's World Ballet Day centres on access becoming art. What does that phrase mean to you?
Here's Devon with her brown hair piled up high on her head.
After experiencing that, my goodness, this phrase means to me something quite powerful, something quite visceral, that we're not merely thinking about how can we make something that we've created accessible at the end, and kind of imagining disability as always already in this position of lack, as needing to be filled in, but rather thrusting open our imaginations of what it means to tell a story, of what it means to come together and to have disabled artists, scholars, and activists from around the globe coming together and exploring different ways of reimagining the world and art. So you asked me what it means. It means everything.
The whole world. Thank you so
Devon's
much,
very
Devon.
expressive with her
Tyler,
hands.
it's wonderful to have you here in London with us.
Tyler is a white
principal
woman
dancer with
in her
New York City
30s with
Ballet,
dark
your
wavy
career
hair.
spanned
She's got a
classical,
bright pink shirt on and a grey
even to
short
Broadway.
skirt.
But this was your first collaboration with Devon. What was your experience of the collaborative process?
It was really enlightening and I would say transformative. I think that originally I thought that the audio would just be a simple description of the steps, and Devon's immersive descriptive audio is so much more than that. She wanted to know why I was giving Marcelino certain steps and then what he was feeling in that moment. So it really is about her capturing, I feel, the essence of the movement with the words she uses.
Amazing. Wow.
Devon smiles
Hearing
at her.
that, Devon, I'm sure, yes. Thank you so much, Tyler. And Rebecca, I mean, you're a dancer here with the Royal Ballet Company, but this
Here's
is one of
Rebecca.
your
She's a
first
young black
creations
woman
as a
in her late
choreographer.
teens.
So how did it
She's
feel
wearing a
to
black
hear
tracksuit
Devon's
with white
sort of
stripes.
descriptions, articulate your movement into words? I mean, how did the collaboration shape your choreography?
Yeah, first hearing Devon's immersive descriptive audio was incredible. It was creative. It was storytelling that gave me a whole new perspective of my piece. And I think us as dancers get so used to what we do day in and day out, we wouldn't even really think of describing our work in this way. So it was truly incredible to hear.
Thank you, Rebecca. So Rob, we're going to hear from two other choreographers shortly, but can you tell us a little bit more about Bim Malcomson's segment?
Yes, absolutely. Bim is a brilliant choreographer with a really strong history working in accessible practices and also working with the Royal Ballet, and so it felt like a really natural and beautiful fit for this project. And she came forward with this wonderful idea to create a duet for Tristan, a Royal Ballet dancer, and for Takashi, who I know you worked with for many years in the Monday Moves program, and who is an artist in his own right. He plays the viola. And you know, Devon has shared with me, and I've witnessed firsthand, the extraordinary physical intelligence that blind people possess as they move through the world. And so to have these two expert movers, but they're experts coming from very different roots, joining together in this duet felt like a beautiful way to kick off the work.
Fantastic, thank you. And Devon, how much did your immersive descriptive audio influence the choreographic process?
Yeah, I think the beauty of immersive descriptive audio that comes from the writing of a blind artist and the perceptions of that blind artist is that we're right there, all of us together, at the very start of the creative process. So I had the extreme pleasure of meeting with each choreographer ahead of time, just to get to know them, get to know the way that they feel about dance. I remember Rebecca speaking with you, I said, I can hear your smile when you speak of it. And with Tyler, it's kind of this gorgeous stretching of time, but that feel, with Bim, the passion that she feels for dance, and with Wayne, the expanse of the body and the imaginary, it really began to develop a vocabulary distinct to each artist. So I began to write a little bit of my own interpretations of our meeting. So I always came with a bit of something. And then when we were in the room together, and in particular with Bim and Takashi, we were getting to know each other. Takashi's blindness, my blindness, and the sights and sightedness of everyone in the room. As we got to know each other, I would continue to write and kind of build on those initial meetings. And so with each rehearsal, the script, the score, the immersive descriptive audio would change. And that would inform some of the choreography. The choreography then would inform some of the text, and it became this dialectic back and forth that wasn't just about performance, the end piece, but that wove in the love and the emotion of the creative team, a true collaboration, not only of the senses, but of the artistry that everyone brought. And so the immersive descriptive audio really is being written right up until the end. And that's what you're experiencing within this piece is Bim, Takashi, all of us together, building a rapport. And I think that's really what's at the heart of immersive descriptive audio as well, is it's not merely capturing what sighted eyes find to be impressive or appealing, but rather how blindness is really inviting us to reimagine what it means to tell a story, and also to really appreciate the beauty of being together.
And you just mentioned this notion of dance stretching time, and you were referring to Tyler. And I'm just going to ask Tyler, could you sort of elaborate a bit and tell us how collaborating with Devon sort of allowed you to stretch time in new ways, perhaps?
Yeah, I think what was really interesting to me was that I found the stretching and the suspending of time even within her voice, the way she delivers the words, the tone of her voice. And I found myself then wanting to put some of the steps on the actual words as opposed to the music. So in a way, it sort of unleashed me to dig deeper into my choreographer mind. And with Marcelino, I felt like we kind of got to know each other better just by the questions you were asking us. So I felt like, as you were saying, we just kind of as a team went deeper together. And
Tyler's looking at Devon as she says this.
I loved every moment of it. Yeah.
Amazing, thank you. And Rebecca, what do you feel or hope that the dancers themselves might take away from this year's World Ballet Day?
I hope that dancers kind of develop a new lens, as I have, for how dance can be described and learned and also choreographed. I think Devon's immersive descriptive audio is such an amazing tool, and it can be used for dancers, for choreographers, and of course for audience members as well. It's incredible.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Rebecca. Thank you to you all. Rob and Devon will be hearing more from you a little bit later. Along with Tyler and Rebecca, of course, Bim Malcomson and resident choreographer of the Royal Ballet, Wayne McGregor, formed the quartet that created this work. And in a short while, we'll have Wayne McGregor with us. But first, let's hear from Bim Malcomson. Bim initially began creating this piece with Takashi Kikuchi and first soloist Leo Dixon a few months ago, but due to scheduling commitments, Leo's not able to do it here today. So a few months ago, we went into the rehearsal studios in Covent Garden to get a special look at the very first few days of their rehearsal process.
Here's a video. They're in the rehearsal room.
We're all here, so let's introduce you to everyone.
This is
He's
Bim.
extending his hand.
Nice to meet you.
This is lovely Devon. My work is very much about people. It's about who I bring into a space and how they take up space together. I often bring people together with very, very different lived experiences.
The BIM has the group sitting together in the studio now.
How we meet as human beings is like as important as what will be seen. I want people to have a voice in the space. I want people to be seen in the space. I want people to be heard in the space. So I'm going to invite you all to tell us something you love. So it could be something you do, it could be something you smell, you feel, you taste. So, Leo.
I'm Leo Dixon, and I'm
Leo's a young white man
with
with
the World Ballet Company.
brown curly hair and brown eyes.
The fact that my job allows me to use my body every day, I feel like that's a real privilege. It's just something I'm so grateful for.
Hi everyone, my name is Devon Heeley.
Devon sits cross-legged on a chair.
Here. I am an assistant professor of disability studies at the University of Toronto, and I've loved getting to know and explore disability.
I'm Nate. I'm here to support Devon, scribing what's being said, writing things down. And
Nate
I love
has a bit of a
sitting
brown
in the
beard.
room,
He's wearing a
watching
baseball
it
cap
happen, being
back to
part of
front.
it, and watching everybody do what they do, coming up with these brilliant ideas.
Having Devon as part of the project has made me fundamentally think quite differently about even my starting point for making, because as a choreographer, one thinks about a physical manifestation, and in this project, through working with Devon and through conversations with Takashi, this piece is becoming more and more about touch and response to touch.
Back in the rehearsal room, Bim is holding Takashi's arms
Takashi,
up in the air.
And I'm a viola player. First of all, I love music. I love making music and I love hearing music. And secondly, I love long walks. Even though I'm born blind, I really like seeing the world through any other senses.
I've been working with him for about...
Takashi's tall with dark hair.
And we spend as much time moving as we do talking about his experience of being a blind person. You're really brave, Takashi, and I really like that.
Oh, that's good.
Takashi smiles.
Do you remember when you were talking about going down that street and you didn't know whether you were going to get lost, and you knew where you were because of the feeling of the sun on your skin?
Yes. As I said, I love walking, and one day I was lost and I allowed myself to be lost. I just thought, thinking about the time, like 2:30 in the afternoon, the sun must be shining from the west, and I felt the heat, and I thought, well, from this street I keep heading towards the west. I could perhaps go out to the main street, which I am quite familiar with. It took more than half an hour instead of 10 minutes, but I made it, and I thought what I've done was not bad.
That really stuck with me, that story. So I want to take the image of the feeling of the sun on our different...
Bim's using her hands very expressively here, pressing one hand on the other.
Each other as we develop the work. So you and Leo, I'm going to invite you to walk together, and for me what's really important is that I want Leo to lead sometimes and I want you to lead sometimes.
She's talking to Takashi.
The exciting thing about this process is that blindness is really being engaged as the lead in this exploration, and I've been there as the blind artist alongside them to kind of draw on their rapport building and creating a narrative and poetic description of their exploration. Takashi, what part of your body do you find that you lead with when you move?
I feel the air and I feel sound, and I feel a lot of things through my foot.
Normally what happens is somebody else leads Takashi through the space. And I really want to shift that dynamic around. This really made me think about who is leading in this work.
I think blindness offers us a new engagement with the world and the body, and Takashi is bringing a new pathway into the body that opens up different movements and expressions. And I think that what Takashi is really inviting them to do is to feel their bodies in movement, to feel the world around them.
As dancers, we are trained to touch, not really feel the touch, and then off we go. And this is something that Takashi is really bringing into the work.
Leo's raising Takashi's arm very slowly with his own.
So I'm really bringing attention to where that touch is, what that touch feels like. So there's really a time to really recognize that before we move into space. So what we would
Bim's talking to Leo.
Like this, you'd move.
She taps him on the shoulder.
Acknowledge it. So what I'm asking, what I think is great about this is it gives you the time to really acknowledge what that feels like. And then you make a choice whether you want to move towards it or away from it.
So typically when we think of dance, we tend to think of it as a visual experience. And so then when we think of access, questions typically come at the end of that process of questions of, well, how can we include blind audience members into this visual feast? That approach tends to place blindness in the position of lack, as needing to be filled in on what sighted creators, sighted dancers are expressing.
I'm feeling the link between my arm and Leo's hand, which is gentle but certain.
Takashi leans back, arms out wide.
I listen to how movement is being described, how the dancers talk with each other, how the choreographer begins to share their imaginary of the story that they hope to convey through movement. And then as we begin to build and explore movement, I like to ask questions. It's almost this kind of slow dramaturgical interview that's happening.
This is beautiful. You both, one thing that Bim and I were saying and I wrote down was an adventurous strength and grace. You both are communicating. I wonder now if you could maybe articulate a little bit of the feel of this movement.
Okay.
I begin to write. I try to capture some language, and Nate's in the room with me. And if there's particular words,
Nate's
I'll
typing
call
at a
them
laptop.
out. Hey, grab, this inverted hurricane. So that then when I go back and I write and kind of think of the day, I'm able to draw on everyone's experience, but then also having blindness as my guide in how I put it together.
Takashi's hand feels slightly cooler than my body.
Takashi's hand is on Leo's chest.
Immersive descriptive audio is to feel that presence of blindness and listen and allow blindness to open up new pathways into dance, into what it means to tell a story. So of course the marvel of the visual is always there, but that unseen story that's happening, that kind of felt relationship between and among the dancers that often goes unspoken. I think blindness helps us access dance in a deeper way.
Should we get started?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Devon and Nate are chatting in the Paul Hamlin Hall in Covent Garden.
Or if I'm going to pull it, then I'll
It's a
just
huge wall of windows.
Put it on a different document.
Great.
Great.
The architecture of touch changes the feel of the relationship. Points of pressure conduct how we lead and listen.
I like that. I like the architecture of touch, especially because Bim said she really likes to think through geometry.
Is it like architecture of ...
Touch. Yeah, because I'm imagining it's like the building.
Devon moves up slowly
The touch.
and leans forward with a flat raised hand.
Okay, Ken?
Yeah.
Architecture of touch. Points of pressure conduct.
And in there, let's pick
She
that up.
clicks,
Points of pressure
jumps.
conduct. So maybe that's like a little bit of that spark to try to kind of draw on what Leo is expressing of like suddenly that need to like move, but no, listen.
Inclusive work to me does not just mean working with a Royal Ballet dancer, and in this case, a blind artist.
She puts her hands side by side.
Inclusive practice for me is including everybody who is in that space as an individual. So I wouldn't want to rush, because for people to be seen and heard, it takes time. And if I don't take time for Leo and Takashi to really find each other, trust each other, then the work will have no substance. And
Bim is moving with Takashi's slow hands.
Bim is very encouraging person. So, of course, she gives me a lot of challenge, but she doesn't expect me to do everything at once. And she also wants to learn some ideas from us. Regardless, we are professional or non-experienced dancers.
Now he's with Leo, almost leaning on each other, arms skin to skin.
I'm disturbing that understanding of blindness as nothingness, because blindness is so much more than what we have imagined it to be. And my hope is that audience members leave with a newfound intrigue with blindness, a newfound way of seeing the world.
It is great if we could share the beauty of feeling the ability together with the audience, rather than focusing on disability. Because regardless we have a disability or not, we have to dream and we have to hope, and then we have to share our progress and achievements. So why don't we focus on the possibility and ability?
I'm quite a political artist, is the truth.
Bim leans forward.
I want my work to mirror what I would like to contribute to the world. And what I would like to contribute to the world before I'm dead is that I make people feel seen every day.
I really like feeling the nature through the water, through the air.
I think the more we can share space together and be curious and ask questions and be humble enough to learn from each other, quite frankly, I think the world would be a better place. I really want to bring you as a human being into the space. That includes all of you.
She looks out at the camera operators at the sides of the room.
And what I do as an artist is I create work where who is leading is explored. Yeah, and I want you to feel like you've got sunshine. Like how we can learn from each other is explored. How we can all have a voice and be valued within this frame, and for me to make work where a blind person is leading a ballet dancer and a ballet dancer is leading a blind person, and that is like an ideal, I guess. I think I'm a little bit of an idealist.
She creates a circle with 4 fingers and thumbs that she peers through with one eye.
A world where we can live in curiosity and compassion, then I want to do that for the rest of my life.
Takashi's hand finishes on Leo's
Bim
back.
Malcomson on her artistic vision. Now, it's time we dive into a rehearsal as Rob Binet, Wayne McGregor and Devon Heeley take us through the inner workings of their creative process. So Rob, Wayne, Devon, over to you.
Thanks, David. So at the end of our last rehearsal, you two had this really beautiful conversation.
Rob's talking to Wayne and Devon. Wayne's wearing a black bomber jacket and has a bald head.
You used the metaphor of a flip book and how we see every frame along the way, but we never get stuck on any frame as it goes, and nothing is more important than the other, and really encouraged Devon to sort of color her way in and out of each action. And I know, Devon, that was really pivotal in your thinking about the immersive descriptive audio for Wayne's duet. So my hope is that you two could sort of take us through some of the choreography, what you were imagining, and how you transformed that into language. I've got the script over there if you need it, but maybe if we go from the beginning with the first word pulsating, which I know you wanted to hear before they even move, and just think about how that triggered the whole thing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wayne, when you were speaking,
Rob
it
moves
really
off
made
over
me
to the
think
side.
about the culture of vision, and like the act of the eye in the midst of trying to see, trying to capture an image, to see it all, and like that pull of the eyelids, and the feel of air kind of beckoning us, reminding us, blink, blink. And I think that's the bit of the body saying, there's more, I'm here, listen to me. And so I wanted to begin with that sensation of pulsation, of the book opening, the pages before our eyes, the feel of the air, and kind of that beckoning into blink. And in that moment of blinking, I thought, oh, then we're in your world.
There was a problem with your mic.
Why, thank you. So that
Rob's
was my
just handed her a
beginning,
mic.
With pulsate, and I know that you had really encouraged me to think about moving into a description of action and not thinking of the move as kind of the point of focus.
I think it's so interesting, that idea of how
This
we
is Wayne
build
McGregor.
images and where we build images from, right? And I think one of the things that we're exploring is to think about this work in process. So how is it that a choreographer imagines both in their head and outside of their head in relationship to dancers? How is it that they pick out kind of visual images, but also, as importantly, how they pick out acoustic images that bypass the visual system? And more so with dancers, how they pick out kinesthetic images, these images that we hold within our body, that the body just knows what to do. And I think one of the beautiful things about having you in the room is that your choreographic process is this beautiful balance between the poetic and the literal in some way, a way of trying to capture what is happening, but also allowing us to open our imagination in a really interesting way. And I think, for those at home, what we were doing in the studio is just starting with an idea. I was flipping in my mind between an invisible city, so a city that I was continually updating my imagination with, flipping that with these objects of nature inside the city. And I was just flipping between those. And I was offering something to you guys, and then we found
He's talking to the two dancers now.
And then you would stop us and interrupt us and talk to us and ask us questions.
Yeah.
Right, so should we have a little go at that?
Let's do it.
What do you think? Do you want to do something that we already made, or should I make something else?
Ooh.
Maybe make something else. Do you
Let's
think?
make something else.
Okay, great. Yeah,
let's do
more,
something
more
new.
alive.
Yeah.
What do you think? Sorry. Okay.
Wayne's talking to the dancers, Mariana and
We'll hold
Emile.
One on top of the other. So one on top of the other. I want you to do a little undercurve just underneath there, like that. Form. And then Emile, can you touch Mariana just on the top of the shoulders? Yeah, just
Now he's
top of
encouraging the
shoulders. And then
dancers.
can you just feel a real fatness between you? A real fatness between you. Yeah? Okay, great. Let's have a look quick.
The
look at that.
dancers move and
So this is how
curve
we
against
start. I'm
each other.
flipping images. Devon is watching.
Link arms, lean down, roll back.
Great, okay, great. From there, can you imagine that there's just a
He
field?
stands between them.
Here, there's a field. It's a field that you can
Draws a
see in
field
your
on the
own
floor.
head. And can you describe an aspect of the field? It might be a part of the grass. It might be a part of the tree.
He
Kind of
stretches up.
impressionistic. Let's see what that might be. Something from Fuande. Great.
It's like
Lovely.
they're plucking
Again, so you got it in
flowers.
your head. Ready? And wait.
And can I stop there? So I would love to say, so in that, so when Wayne has asked you, what do you imagine? What do you feel there that you're...
I was picturing that there was some sand and you're just scooping up the sand.
She's asking Emile.
Fall out of the palms of my hands.
Lovely.
He's describing picking up
Yeah.
sand. And Mariana.
Picturing that I was picking a flower and smelling it.
Ooh, beautiful. We have like the texture, like the graininess of sand, and then like kind of this scent, like a floral kind of scent surrounding you. Oh, I like that.
So
Okay,
Devon, you know when we started, so we started with kind of like action stuff.
Yeah.
And then we started with something poetic. Where does that sit in you to be able to imagine what that might become?
So right now I'm really interested. I want to just get a wee bit more of your movement into that, because if you're feeling texture and you're getting scent, I want to get a little bit to your sense of that move into those moments. Like what's taking you to texture, what's taking you to scent.
Great, good. And
The dancers again, linking arms. Unfurling backwards, then leaning down, scooping up and lifting.
lovely, lovely moving. Shall we start back from the beginning? I wanted just to show you what a kind of a new version of that, how we started to work. But should we work with some stuff that we already have?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Let's do that first
Again?
beginning bit,
Okay,
just
great.
again, because I want to get here.
Devon leans down low.
Okay, stop right there. So in that moment, what you've done is that there's the relationship. You both look at each other. there. And in that moment, to go into then the texture and the scent, what's that moment for you both? What are you communicating there to each other?
Taking a breath, I guess.
Mariana says, taking a breath.
I love that. Okay. So you're finding kind of this roll, or almost like this kind of restacking together?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so what's interesting in that dialogue, what you're doing is almost acting like a dramaturg, right? There's a kind of a dramaturgical kind of way in which you're interacting with the content of the dancing, which is really great. How often do you get asked so many questions while thinking about that?
Not very often at all.
No, right? So, and
They
what
shake their
happens when you
heads.
get asked the question, where does that then sit, or what does that furnish in your imagination?
I think it really makes you think about where the idea comes from, rather than me just trying to execute a certain movement.
Love that. So we've talked a lot about this difference between intention, the reason why you do something, and attention, what you're attending to while doing it. So you can attend to motion while having an intention that does something. And I think that's what's beautiful about your immersive descriptive audio, that actually we get the balance between those two things. So just have a little go, yeah, and carry on.
The dancers repeat the movement. And finish with the scooping
Texture,
up.
sand dripping, falling. The scent of roses swirls around her. Look.
Lovely. Devon, is that very instinctive when you do that?
It is, yeah. Because I try to feel, like I can feel in the floor, I love this floor, when you move. And each step that you take, you have a different intensity. And even Wayne, you have your own step too. And that was quite a privilege to be in the rehearsal studio with you both, because I could kind of get a feel of your move and when you were excited. There was a moment when I would ask a question, I'd be like, Wayne, what are you thinking? And so I can get a kind of a feel of your steps, and then to hear you both say what you're holding on to, and I'm thinking, okay, what is this conjuring within me in terms of a narrative or a story? That then if we were doing this, I would write, come back tomorrow, offer that to the three of you, and then erase almost the vast majority of it, maybe keep some words that really stuck, and we do it again.
But you tend to be quite close. You like to be close.
Very close. Very close.
What is that? What are you feeling in that?
Yeah, I like to get a sense of even the articulation of your movement. So oh, okay, gorgeous. Like a hand.
She's leaning down next to their hands.
You could say like they place their hands together, but that's not what you're doing at all. It's this gorgeous kind of like there's a million moves and thoughts and like just the hair on your arms going, like that's what interests me. There is kind of the million, the ongoing histories of movement that you're thinking of and traveling through to then touch. I wonder would this be okay?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, if as you're doing it, if I hold the mic and maybe I'll switch, for you to think about articulating just what you're feeling and how your hand is kind of moving as you're about to touch.
She's asking Emile if he'd like to articulate as he moves his hand towards Mariana's hand.
So it falls from my fingertips and meeting Mariana's hand, making a clasp of contact, where we look at each other and keep going through the motion. Sliding.
Ooh, but what'd you do there? See that there? And then you went, ooh, that was a Wayne.
Now Devon moves to the other side next to Mariana.
And the gravity pulling us forward. And then Emile's gentle touch.
Very gentle touch of my fingers on Mariana's arms. A tiny movement, but very delicate.
So there's another way of thinking about that. So what's interesting about that is you using words to actually describe motion. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's another way that I think Devon uses a lot, and it's called sonification, and it's this idea that sound shapes action. Mm-hmm. So if I was going to go wah, wah, yeah, the body has a sense of wah-ness without.
He does a kind of wiggle as he says that word.
Describing like singing to yourself what that phrase was. As music, try that. See if that's a little bit easier.
Can you hear? Do I need closer?
That Devon does a lot. So Emile, you would just think about whatever it is in music, in singing. There we go. So there's another way of remembering rhythm, and I was so struck by your narration over, the work of that amazing immersive audio description. about its rhythmic propensity, what it tells us about the rhythmic side of the idea. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, and for me, that's kind of, and thanks, Wayne, that's really one of the delights for me of immersive descriptive audio, is that I don't want to just hear what people are seeing or what's there to be seen, but I want to capture what, and Wayne, this is, as you said too, what leads into that movement, to try to get the feel of your dance, so that as I listen to the text as an audience member, and in particular, I'm thinking of blind people here in all the expressions of blindness that are out there, dancing with their own blindness. And so to hear the text, and to move with what's before them, but knowing that they're not on their own, that this very much is a relational act that's happening because it's both of you on stage. So it's not just being alone and I'm moving, but it's I'm moving because I'm inspired and drawn and pulled by you and you and you.
But how are you balancing? So one of the things that we do as dancers to remember motion is we remember the things that we're doing, the actions that we're doing, but also, you know, with choreographers, you're given kind of mental images or more poetic images that take you to a place that the body feels, right? These somatic images that place you somewhere. So I'm curious how you balance in your work the kind of the poetic with the more, you know, descriptive. How do you do that? When do you know when to move? Because in a way, it's the same question for dancers. When do they think poetically about the movement, and when are they thinking more functionally about the movement?
It's quite a delicate balance. I think that's something that I'm still figuring out. And in particular for this work is to know when can I really pull and go into that poetic, knowing that that's where you're taking me, but also having these kind of anchors of movement to then be pulled back into, and to go. So for me, I think it really is, it's rhythmic. And it's why I think it's so important that the blind artist who's writing this be present with the choreographer, with dancers, with the lighting, set, costume, and sound designers, because I need to feel that. I need to be part of the creative process. So when I hear you, Wayne, get excited, or I sense it in the floor, or I can really hear the two of you when you are moving there, I think that's a moment I'm going to go with that. I'm going to come back. It's the rhythm.
How do you decide how long an idea is? Yeah, how long is an idea? Or is that, again, another felt thing?
It's a felt.
Yeah.
It's a felt thing. I think that there's the story. There's always something that I'm holding of what is it that we want collectively to convey? What is it that we're hoping this piece invites within someone? And so I'm always hanging on to that, but how far can we go in that invitation while still being together? That's the tricky part, I think. And it's really the relationship that's built between all of us to do that, to describe.
It was beautiful, that moment between us, right? So we were in the studio starting from nothing, starting from an idea that grows together, and that we're in discussion and dialogue all the time. And that is the nature of collaboration, where we're thinking together about something. And I loved that what we weren't doing is making something and then you were doing something to it afterwards. That what we were doing is like authoring this thing together. And that's so super powerful.
Well, in particular, I mean, the line of oxygen and light beaming from your chest, that was you. Oxygen
She's
and
pointing
light
to Mariana.
beaming from your chest, or the sketched and resketched. And I said, Wayne, and you were moving there. I said, what are you thinking? What are you doing? He said, Devon, I'm drawing an invisible line. I'm sketching it. I thought, oh, okay. So now do I want to be the pen? Do I want to be the ink? Do I want to be running with you? It's that kind of, that delicate relationship. I'm so thankful to the three of you. Thank you so much for inviting me into your world.
Thank you so much. It's been so much fun. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much.
And a big thank you to you, Wayne, as well.
Here's David again.
Mariana and Emile, you are incredible.
Wayne hugs the two dancers.
Mariana and Emile, can I just ask a couple of questions? What's the process been like for you? I'm going to give you the mic. Thank you so much.
This is Mariana.
Yeah, it's definitely been a special process, one of a kind, and this is my first time working with Devon. And the fact that she was asking questions as we were going through choreography, it kind of forced me to think outside the box, to get out of my comfort zone, and to actually analyze the depth of the movement or what starts the movement, or finding those type of descriptions that then help me as well to perform the movement in a different way, in different quality. So that was a very beautiful experience.
Thank you. And Emile, did Devon's immersive description change the way that you respond to the work?
I think it was just really refreshing because obviously as dancers, that's not always how we work. So it was a new experience for us both. And it was nice having Devon there because it really made us think more than what we're just doing in terms of kicking a leg or moving sideways. We're actually really thinking of why I'm doing that and where is the intention coming from, like Wayne said.
Fantastic. Well, thank you all so much. I'll let you go. You have very busy days to get to. Thank you so much to Wayne, to Emile, and to Mariana. Thank you, and Devon also. Brilliant. Well, very shortly, we'll be joined by students from the World Ballet School to explore their responses to Devon's work. But first, for Kevin O'Hare, World Ballet Day has always been about opening doors. And when he set about reimagining the event for 2025, he wanted to explore new ways of approaching the creative process. So we sat down with Kevin and Artistic Director of National Ballet of Canada, Hope Muir, to discuss the work they've done with Rob Binet over the years and how Devon has inspired them as artistic directors.
Hope, it's so brilliant to have you here in London.
They're sitting in the Paul Hamlin
worked together so many times,
hall.
whether it's on co-productions,
Kevin in a dark suit,
exchanges of dancers,
Hope in a grey utilitarian dress, blonde hair, tied back low.
Were with us from the very beginning with World Ballet Day 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's a long time and a really good opportunity at this moment in time to have reflection on what it means.
Of course, when we did World Ballet Day for the first time, it was sort of extraordinary to be able to look into the world of ballet in the different companies, in the different studios.
Video clips of lots of dancers rehearsing
it seemed
or on the stage, leaping together.
Really a good time to be reflective.
I think it was definitely
lots of pirouettes.
A moment, and I like the reflection aspect of it as to why. Because if it is just about
duets,
ballet class and rehearsals,
group moving together,
you know, the inner workings of a ballet company, those are our really active audiences already. But what about the people that don't feel ballet is for them? And to be able to reevaluate how we present it, I think it's a really good time.
Yeah, and how you can bring the process to life for so many people. And we've both, as well as other companies all around the world, have done ballets, creative ballets, where we've brought people in right from the very beginning that are connected in a way to bring access to so many people. Like when we were doing The Cellist with Kathy Marston, and, you know, we worked with the MS Society on that.
Scenes from The Cellist, a blonde woman wearing a blue dress is playing another dancer as if they were a cello. They're wearing a brown leotard. They twirl, she sits on the floor holding her knees.
That you've done with different choreographers that have brought that to life as well.
Yeah, I think, again, and this is in the curation, it's a starting point for work. And when we decide to put a ballet on a stage, who are our partners in community that can come in and support us giving the correct messaging, but also then inviting the right people to the space to share it with us. We just embarked on a project called Rainbow on Mars. So Rob Binet, of course, was one of our associate choreographers at the National Ballet.
Here's Rob Binet in a rehearsal room with lots of dancers.
And we'd been incubating the idea with
two men dancing a duet.
Rainbow on Mars for our apprentice program with Devon Heeley for 2 years. Luckily, that came to fruition this August. Super successful run of shows.
Here are some stills of dancers on stage, some scenes where they're all wearing white silk slips, and Devon is kneeling right amongst them.
Our artists engage with Devon and her process. That's what I found really interesting and quite stimulating as a director, to really see the impact that this work was going to be having on them as artists moving forward, and the choices that they're going to make and who they collaborate with, and also perhaps challenging me from time to time to say, what are we going to do? You know, how are we going to make this work more accessible for this community or that community?
Yeah, and it's been wonderful for us because, you know, from that journey 2 years ago, Rob and Devon have been down in our Linbury Theatre and created this immersive work, which was so extraordinary to be able
Here are
to
scenes,
change the whole
stills from
way
Dark
of
with
how
Excessive Bright from
everybody comes in
2024.
to watch a performance in the Linbury
Dancers
Theatre.
wearing
And then
nude
that led on to the thinking
unitards
of,
and have
so shouldn't we tell
flowing
everybody
pieces of
about this and let
organza
everybody know
coming
what we're doing, and
away
that's
from
what
their
we're trying
shoulders.
to do with World Ballet Day this year.
I'm really curious to know the emotion behind.
Devon's back in the rehearsal room with Takashi and Leo.
Particularly when,
and Bim.
Leo, you're acknowledging the touch and kind of what you're feeling.
We all wrongly have in our mind what sort of audio description could be.
Like sometimes your sticky feet hold, thirsty fingers explore.
And to really hear how Devon embodied the movement through the discussions and the reasoning behind a particular step or a particular feeling within a work.
If your muscles were to talk, if your elbow was going to talk, the intent that you're feeling, what would they say?
I mean, it's
Or in
extraordinary to
particular,
hear
what
the
are they saying
poetry
to you?
of her description, which adds such another brilliant element.
It was actually the exact word I was going to say is the poetry of it. It's a layer of the art form that actually kind of becomes embedded in the steps from the beginning. And it's not just describing what's happening, it really is giving feeling and texture and all of the things that contribute greatly to a new way of presenting dance.
As we've talked about, Devon was a catalyst for us to really doing exactly what you said, thinking from the beginning, when we've got a new production, how are we going to make this relevant for more people than the wonderful audiences that come to see us, but we want to do more than that.
I think that's a really important point, because we can talk about access and World Ballet Day, but really it's about how are we going to change and evolve as a community. And from the early 80s, we were looking to ways to partner with organizations in Canada to provide free performances, and we do that with our Share the Magic season at Nutcracker every year. We also are really proud of our Relaxed Performance series, being able to provide performances for the neurodiverse community, for the blind and partially sighted, and for the deaf and the hard of hearing, as well as people that just haven't been to a theatre or would rather just come with their families to a more relaxed, safe environment.
It's so special to see those relaxed performances, because I remember talking to somebody after Nutcracker last year, and this family had never been to a theatre as a family before, and it was the first time they'd ever done that, and that was just so special.
I think anything we can do to make space for people and to make them feel that this art form is for them and to help them belong in any environment and how we present work.
Learning and participation programs with a man in a wheelchair holding a dance and twirling. Some children are watching a ballet dancer in a school hall.
Put in front of our artists is going to inform how we tell stories. Success is not just what we put on the stage anymore. It's really about how we're connecting to our community and how we're developing this art form.
Logos for the Royal Ballet and National Ballet of Canada.
And hope in conversation there. Well, from artistic directors to future ballet stars, I'm delighted to be joined by some students from the Royal Ballet School, along with Rob Binet and Devon Heeley. So Rob and Devon, can you tell us a bit more about what you've been doing with the Royal Ballet School?
Absolutely. We've had the pleasure of spending a good chunk of time with these wonderful young dancers over the last 2 weeks. And Devon and I thought it would be fun to sort of flip this process, because over the last 5 years, we found that sometimes when we revisit recordings of immersive descriptive audio, after enough time that we've kind of forgotten all the original steps, it really starts to ignite new dances in our imagination. And the beautiful thing about that is it means that blindness is leading sight instead of blindness responding to sight. And so for our time with the students, we took some early drafts of immersive descriptive audio that Devon wrote for this project. Some of it didn't make it into the final work, and invited the students to respond to it, creating their own choreography. And a really exciting piece is, Devon, that you're going to be performing live. Would you share a bit about how that feels?
I will, yeah. Thanks, Rob, for that. And I think one of the delights about immersive descriptive audio is that it's not merely a description of a performance, it is a performance. And so the delivery, the intention,
the connection with the dancers on stage, with the music, is so important. And it's been really a thrill. And I'm gonna say an extreme high point of our whole time together was working with all of you. First,
She's looking at the three
blindness, or a different expression of blindness to the school. First, we kind of talked about our imaginaries of blindness, about how we think and feel when someone says the word blind or when we think of blindness, and to really begin to pull that apart and think of, well, how did we come to this understanding? And what is this understanding doing? And together we realized, well, yeah, no, there's something more going on, and we were really exploring the nuance of blindness. So that was really exciting to be able to do that with all of you, to get to know my blindness in a different way, hopefully bring a new speck of blindness to all of you to carry with you into your practice, and to also understand disability and in particular blindness as a really necessary, creative, and valuable perception and artistry of our world and work.
Amazing,
yeah.
Gosh. And I'd love to explore how it sits from the other side, actually. So, Lewis, if I can ask you, does Devon's immersive descriptive audio encourage you to think differently
grey
about
leotard,
the way that you
black,
move?
soft trousers.
Yeah,
He's got dark hair.
It definitely does. I think when we first worked with her, like, immediately it's so different to music in the way that words can be interpreted in so many different ways. So when we were creating it, I would say everyone was coming up with so many different ideas that all linked back to Devon's, like, her words. And I think, yeah, it really inspired, like, you to really stretch your creativity and make something that's so unique and personal to you, but also personal to Devon. I think it's really interesting.
Wow, thank you, Lewis. That's an amazing answer. And Anzu, what surprised you about this collaboration?
Anzu's wearing a dark red leotard and black trousers. She's got black hair scraped
First of all,
back.
English is not my first language, and even though there is a language barrier, I felt like very deep connection between me and Devon, and it almost felt like, you know, when you watch a movie with subtitle and then when it's not in your first language, and it almost felt like that. Like when she was saying the word and when she was speaking, I was closing my eyes to try to feel what she was thinking, even if I didn't know some of the word. And it felt like there was a subtitle in my heart, and then that felt really surprising and special to me.
Wow, a subtitle in my heart. I love that. That is absolutely brilliant. Thank you, Anzu. And Gia, is there anything about this project that has shifted the way that you approach dance?
Gia's got blonde hair and small pearl earrings.
Throughout the process with Devon, I feel like, as Lewis mentioned, her words really influence our movement. And through each intonation of her voice, like, I don't know, we respond and adapt to it. Just as in ballet, we bring it in the studio, and we respond to the music being played by the pianist through every breath and every step. So it really related to this experience, and I really got a lot out of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Gia. So, Rob, can you talk us through what we're about to experience?
Absolutely. So we've got 30 brilliant young dancers in the wings, the whole first-year class from the Royal Ballet School's upper school, with their own choreography ready to go. So Devon she's selected 2 passages of immersive descriptive audio, and she's going to repeat each of them 3 times, performing them differently each time. And you'll see different groups of students interpreting her work and responding live to her performance, almost as though she is both composer and conductor as they dance.
Amazing. I will leave you to it.
Thank
you all.
Thank you. David leads the stage, and Rob leads Devon over to the side. The dancers wear burgundy leotards for girls, grey for men. One of the young men has joined Anzu on the stage, just 2 of them.
Go for it.
They stand, the impressed grooves and calluses, the diatonic chords of their journey, the drops, the lifts, the glides, plucks, and slides, tangled. Sunlight, a bead of sweat. Home hovers just beyond. They stand. The impressed grooves and calluses, the diatonic chords of their journey, the drops, the lifts, the glides, plucks and slides, tangled. Oh, sunlight. Ah, a bead of sweat. Home hovers just beyond. They stand. The impressed grooves and calluses, the diatonic chords of their journey. Ooh, the drops, the lifts, the glides, plucks and slides, tangled. Sunlight, a bead of sweat. Home hovers just beyond. Feel the touch, the sun on skin. Apollo's fingers press, hand on chest. The breath of sunshine moves as rays draw attention west. The heat of contact. Touch as an act of listening. Touch as an invitation to move. Feel the touch before you go. Feel the touch. The sun on skin. Apollo's fingers press, hand on chest. The breath of sunshine moves as rays draw attention west. The heat of contact. Touch as an act of listening. Touch as an invitation to move. Feel the touch before you go. Feel the touch, the sun on skin. Apollo's fingers press, hand on chest. The breath of sunshine moves as rays draw attention west. The heat of contact. Touch as an act of listening. Touch as an invitation to move. Feel the touch before you go.
Thank you, Anzu and Lewis and all the dancers. It was absolutely beautiful. A real treat to experience.
Wow, that was absolutely extraordinary. And what a wonderful way to round off our World Ballet Day this year.
David's back with
Rob
and Devon.
Thank you all so much for taking part. Sadly, that is the end of our broadcast. But don't forget to visit the website and catch up on some of the other streams from companies all over the world. You can also join us tonight at 7:30 for a seasonal favourite when the Royal Ballet are live with a streamed insight rehearsal of The Nutcracker. A huge thank you to all of our dancers who took part today, as well as choreographers Rebecca, Myles, Stewart, Malcomson, Tyler Peck, and of course Wayne McGregor, not to mention our co-creators Devon Heeley and Rob Binet. World Ballet Day, Access Becomes Art, is just one of the many ways that the Royal Ballet are committed to ensuring that dance is for everyone. From our relaxed, audio-described or BSL interpreted performances to our Create and Dance sensory learning programme, which inspires students nationwide to develop creativity and confidence through dance. There are so many ways to explore what the Royal Ballet has to offer. But what's it meant for you both today, Rob, Devon?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like a really extraordinary moment. You know, this practice of immersive descriptive audio for dance has sort of bounced back and forth between the two of us for the last 5 years, and it's really been this amazing moment of expansion to witness Devon working with so many different choreographers and how that shifts your artistic practice and how the dancers are inspired by that, and also this huge and brilliant group of students and their responses to your work. And, you know, it really makes you think that in the moments as choreographers, when we're developing new projects, when you're thinking about who's going to do the music, who's going to do the lighting, who's going to do the sets, we also need to be thinking who's going to do the accessibility. How are we going to invite people into this from the beginning of the creative process so that we're never filling anyone in at the end on something they're missing, but really building a truly inviting work of art together. And I think, you know, what's such a gift from you to me and to our whole ballet world, Devon, is that we can get very caught up in the look of ballet, but all the magic is in the feel. And your work brings us right into the feel of ballet every day, and I'm so grateful for that.
Devon, can you respond to that?
David!
Devon looks slightly overwhelmed.
What can I say? First and foremost, Rob, it has been such a joy collaborating with you over the last 5 years. And in particular, I want to thank Kevin and the Royal Ballet for really being so open to blindness and nurturing this sense that we can be and do so much more when disability and disabled artists, scholars, and activists are at the heart of reimagining what it means to tell stories. So what does this mean for me? It means the hairs on my arm, David, if you can come really close, they're standing up because I'm just thinking about all the vibrant, exciting work that is happening around the globe right now. And that really, of course, this isn't the beginning because there's been so much happening, but this certainly isn't the end. And today in particular on World Ballet Day, I think about the joy of knowing that disabled perspectives and disability as a valuable, creative, I've said it once, I'm gonna say it again, necessary perspective and place in our world is really being honored today. And I'm overjoyed and overwhelmed, and I can't wait to experience the more that disability offers.
Well, thank you so much again to you both. I couldn't have put it better myself. Thank you to you both, but thank you to everyone all around the world, everybody watching. We hope you've enjoyed this year's World Ballet Day. Goodbye.
And that's it. Thank you everyone for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it.